If you're a small or medium limited company business here in the UK, then gaining an understanding of what a company resolution is and how to use them correctly could save you and your fellow directors and shareholders a lot of grief and agony. Resolutions are legally binding and are part of the decision-making process for limited company members as stipulated in the Companies Act of 2006. And I'll also explain the potential consequences of simply ignoring the completion of the correct paperwork and resolutions. In this video, we will cover what exactly is a resolution for a limited company, what are the different types of resolutions, a brief look into special resolutions, and finally, why do they even matter and what happens if you don't do anything at all. Before I get into today's video, be sure to visit our Accounting and Tax Academy membership area, where you can download various resolution templates to use in your own business. Limited company resolutions are legally binding decisions made by the members of a limited company. Members of a limited company include shareholders, guarantors, and directors in the main. And decision-making for a limited company, certainly formal decisions, is more than just having a verbal conversation and agreement. Resolutions are required when formal decisions need to be made on matters beyond the remit of day-to-day business operations and can be divided into ordinary or special, which we will explore in the next section. The decision-making rules and procedures that a limited company must follow are set out in the Companies Act of 2006 and the Articles of Association of a limited company, which normally state when a resolution is required and the type of resolution that should be used. Some limited company businesses may also have a shareholders agreement that states what types of decisions require a resolution and how. There are essentially two types of resolution, that is an ordinary resolution and a special resolution. An ordinary resolution is a method by which members approve routine company decisions, traditionally by way of a general meeting. A general meeting is normally a physical meeting around a table where members attend. The different types of ordinary company resolutions are ordinary resolution of the members by way of attending a meeting. This is perhaps the most common type of resolution. A written ordinary resolution of the members where no board or shareholder meeting is required, and finally a director's resolution, also known as a board resolution, by either a meeting or written resolution. The types of decisions that normally require an ordinary resolution of the members include, but are not limited to, appointing and removing a director or company secretary, approving directors' loans of over £10,000, making changes to a director's contract, authorising shareholders' dividend payments, increasing authorised share capital, authorising the company to purchase its own shares. So let's look at a real practical example. Take Bob, Carl and Monty, all three directors and equal shareholders of their company Ace Designs Limited. They all own the same share type, that is ordinary share capital, and hold 33.3% of the total shareholding each and 33.3% each of the voting rights. Bob wishes to take a director loan from Ace Designs Limited of £20,000 and raises a request to the other two shareholders, that is Carl and Monty. The two other members need to vote on the proposal and an ordinary resolution must be passed before Bob can take action in taking a director's loan. The trio decide to hold a physical meeting at their head office and vote simply by raising their hands if they vote for, or not raising their hands if they vote against Bob taking a director loan from the company. At the meeting, Bob votes for by raising his hand, and so that 33.3% of the vote is cast. Carl votes against by not raising his hand, and that is 33.3% against. And finally, Monty votes for by raising his hand, thus providing a total 66.6% of votes cast to give a simple majority, that is over 50%. Therefore permitting Bob to take the director loan of £20,000 from the company. Board minutes are produced and an ordinary resolution is passed, recorded and importantly circulated to all members. Some ordinary resolutions have to also be filed with Companies House. Now, something important to note about voting at a physical general meeting. Let's suppose Monty did not turn up. His absence basically means his vote would not count at all. So now the result would have been 50% for and 50% against, and therefore not enough for Bob to take the action he wanted to. Remember, he needs a majority that is more than 50%. A physical meeting can also include a video conference meeting where all members are visible. The alternative to a physical or video conference-based meeting is a written resolution. Decisions can be made without the need to hold a meeting, and it can be simpler to administer, especially if members are spread out geographically or under COVID-19 restrictions. All non-ordinary resolutions are deemed special resolutions and normally concern more critical business matters that extend beyond the powers of directors. Special resolutions require approval of at least 75% of member votes. They can be proposed and voted on at general meetings or by written resolution if allowed for in your limited company articles of association. The Companies Act 2006 specifies a number of important decisions that require a special resolution of the members, including but not limited to amending the Articles of Association, making changes to your shareholders agreement, changing your company's name, allotting new shares, reducing your company's share capital, approving share transfers, changing your private limited company to a public limited company or vice versa, authorizing compensation for directors, and finally closing your limited company by way of a member's voluntary liquidation. In essence, special resolutions were designed to protect the interests of minority shareholders, thus the 75% majority required. Now, this is a very important and least understood point. Far too often, too many limited company directors and shareholders completely ignore the paperwork of decision making, as it can seem and feel like an administrative burden. Or sometimes paperwork is produced, but the correct procedure is not followed. The most common scenario in my experience that throws matters into chaos and stalemate is when there is a breakdown between directors and or shareholders. And believe me, this happens more often than you think. Let's go back to our earlier example of Ace Designs Limited and Bob's director loan. Let's suppose Bob took the director loan without any formal resolution, as the three directors agreed verbally but didn't have time to follow the correct procedure and circulate the correct resolution paperwork. 6 months later, Carl and Bob's professional relationship completely breaks down, and Carl becomes quite hostile towards Bob. Carl demands Bob repay the director loan he took earlier on in the year, on the grounds no formal resolution was passed, and the action Bob took was invalid and contrary to Section 292 of the Companies Act of 2006, being there was a failure to propose, consider, or circulate the correct resolution. Now, from a legal perspective, Carl has a very strong case against Bob and could enforce him to repay the loan in full should he pursue matters through the courts. Had the three directors followed the correct procedures and documentation, then certainly for Bob, such a scenario would not have reared its ugly head. So next time you need to make a formal decision for your limited company, stop and think whether you need an ordinary or special resolution or any other kind of paperwork in place. If you have the services of a qualified accountant or company secretary, they should be advising you and executing this for you. If you don't, then head over to our membership area where you can download ready-to-use resolution, board minutes, and other templates to use in your own limited company. I hope this video has helped you understand what a resolution is and the relative importance of them, and taking you one step closer to knowing your numbers. As always, let us know in the comments your thoughts on today's video, or if there are any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Finally, be sure to like and subscribe, as this really does help us to get our content out there. This is Tony D'Angelo for the Accounting and Tax Academy. Thanks for tuning in.